Beloved chosen one, listen carefully, because this is not a small moment passing through your day like any other. This is a pause that reaches deeper than emotion, deeper than weariness, deeper even than the prayers you have spoken when no one else could hear you. Heaven has spoken over your life, and the message is clear. You have done enough. Now let God take over. There comes a time when effort can no longer open the door, when striving can no longer heal the wound, when planning can no longer hold together what pressure has been slowly pulling apart. You have reached that place where your own strength has carried you as far as it can carry you. And that is not failure. That is revelation. That is the moment you begin to understand that God never asked you to be your own savior. You have been trying to hold everything in place with tired hands. You have been trying to keep peace, keep hope, keep faith, keep moving, even while part of you has been whispering that you cannot continue like this forever. You have smiled when your spirit felt heavy. You have stayed available when your soul needed rest. You have kept showing up, kept believing, kept pushing, kept giving. And now heaven meets you in this very place, not with condemnation, but with mercy. God is not standing over you demanding more. He is standing before you inviting release. He is not asking for one final performance. He is asking for surrender. There is a sacred difference between quitting and letting go. Quitting is rooted in despair, but surrender is rooted in trust. Quitting says nothing good can happen. Surrender says God can do what I cannot. That is the threshold before you now. You are not being called to abandon hope. You are being called to place hope into stronger hands. The battle has worn you down because you were never meant to fight every part of it alone. The outcome has frightened you because you were never meant to control every detail. The pressure has exhausted you because you were never meant to carry the weight of tomorrow while still trying to survive today. This is why your spirit has been restless. This is why your heart has felt stretched between faith and fatigue. Something inside you knows that the old way cannot continue. You cannot keep living as though everything depends entirely on your speed, your wisdom, your timing, your perfection, your endurance. It does not. God has not brought you this far to hand you over to panic. He has not preserved you through every dark valley just to leave you at the edge of breakthrough, trembling under a burden too heavy to lift. He is reminding you now that what is impossible for you has never been difficult for him. Pause here and let that settle into your bones. You do not have to force what heaven has already seen. You do not have to chase what God has already assigned. You do not have to break yourself trying to maintain what only grace can sustain. There are doors that open by obedience, not by obsession. There are answers that arrive in stillness, not in frenzy. There are miracles that begin the moment you loosen your grip and say, with honesty and reverence, Lord, I cannot do this without you. That prayer is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is not the sound of defeat. It is the sound of alignment. Many people keep running until they no longer recognize the voice of peace, but you are being called to stop before that happens. You are being called back into the simplicity of trust, not shallow trust, not borrowed trust, deep trust, the kind that breathes when circumstances remain unclear. The kind that stays steady when the path ahead has not fully appeared. The kind that knows God does not need your panic in order to perform his promise. Chosen one. Some of what you call delay is actually divine restraint. Some of what you call silence is actually holy preparation. Some of what you thought was abandonment was the hand of God protecting you from moving too soon, speaking too quickly, attaching yourself too deeply, or building something he never assigned. You were measuring progress by visible movement, but heaven measures differently. God sees what is being formed in you while you wait. What is being cleansed from you while you grieve? What is being strengthened in you while you learn to release control? Even now, what feels like emptiness may be the clearing of ground for something far more stable than what you were trying to hold together on your own. So breathe, not a rushed breath, not a fearful breath, but a steady breath that reminds your body and soul that God is still God. Let this message interrupt the storm in your mind. Let it cut through the noise of pressure, expectation, and self-blame. You do not need to prove your worth by exhaustion. You do not need to earn divine help by collapsing first. Heaven has already seen your effort. Heaven has already counted your tears. Heaven has already witnessed the private battles, the silent endurance, the moments you almost gave up but did not. And now, heaven says enough, not because your desire was wrong, but because your striving has reached its limit and grace is ready to move in a new way. Type 777 in the comments if you are ready to let God take over. This is where the turning begins. Not with noise, but with yielding. Not with one more attempt to rescue everything yourself, but with a holy decision to trust the one who sees the end from the beginning. Today, you are not being dismissed. You are being relieved. You are not being told that your effort meant nothing. You are being shown that effort was never meant to replace dependence on God. The same God who carried you through what should have broken you is fully able to carry what still concerns you now. And as this message moves forward, you will begin to see that surrender is not the end of your strength. It is the place where true strength finally begins. And this is where you begin to understand that surrender is not a collapse of purpose, but a transfer of weight. It is the moment when your soul stops gripping the edges of every outcome and starts resting in the hands of the one who never loses control. You have been taught by pain to stay alert, by disappointment to stay guarded, by delay to keep managing every detail yourself. But God is now leading you into a deeper lesson, one that does not flatter your self-sufficiency, one that does not reward endless striving. He is teaching you that holy progress often begins when human effort finally bows. That truth comes alive in the story of Moses, because Moses knows what it means to be stretched between fear and calling, between responsibility and helplessness, between the command of God and the limits of human strength. He is not a man who begins in perfect confidence. He is a man who begins with resistance, uncertainty, and a deep awareness of his own inadequacy. When the Lord calls him at the burning bush, Moses does not respond like someone eager to stand in power. He responds like someone who knows how fragile he feels. He questions his own voice. He questions his own worthiness. He questions whether people will even listen. In that moment, you see something important. God does not choose Moses because Moses appears unstoppable. God chooses Moses because divine power is about to be revealed through a vessel that knows it cannot do the assignment alone. That is where your heart meets his. You have looked at what stands in front of you and wondered whether you are enough. You have stared at responsibilities that feel larger than your capacity. You have felt the tension of being called forward while still carrying memories of failure, insecurity, and fear. But the story of Moses reminds you that the burden of the calling does not rest on the human messenger as if everything depends on personal strength. The calling rests on the faithfulness of God. Moses is asked to go, yes, but it is God who promises to be with him. That changes everything. The moment you miss this, you start living as though God gives assignments and then watches from a distance to see whether you can carry them without him. But that is not the pattern of Scripture, and it is not the pattern of grace. God does not send Moses into Egypt with a speech about self-belief. He sends him with his presence. He does not tell Moses to become stronger on his own and return when he feels ready. He tells him to move with the assurance that heaven is already involved. That is the shift happening in you now. You are being invited to stop measuring your future by your current limitations. You are being called to measure it by the presence of the one who goes ahead of you. Listen to this truth as if it were spoken directly into your spirit now. The Lord will fight for you. You need only to be still. Exodus chapter 14, verse 14. That verse is not permission for passivity or an excuse for spiritual laziness. It is a correction for the heart that has started to believe that panic is productive and that control is the same as wisdom. Moses reaches the Red Sea with the people behind him and danger approaching fast. There is no human strategy large enough for that moment. No personal talent can split water. No amount of anxiety can create a path through the impossible. And yet that is exactly where God reveals what surrender can unlock. The people are terrified. The pressure is real. The threat is visible. But heaven does not ask Moses to manufacture the miracle. Heaven asked for trust, obedience, and stillness in the middle of fear. You know that place. Maybe your own Red Sea does not look like water in front of you and an army behind you. But it feels just as impossible. It feels like there is no obvious path, no easy answer, no human solution that can carry you out cleanly. You have looked in front of you and seen blockage. You have looked behind you and seen pressure chasing you. You have looked within yourself and found exhaustion where confidence used to live. And that is exactly why this message reaches you with such force. God is not waiting for you to part the sea. He is asking you to stop acting as though the miracle depends on your strain. Moses does not become powerful because he controls events. He becomes powerful because he learns to move when God says move, to stretch out the staff when God says stretch it out, and to stand still when God says be still. There is a rhythm to surrender, and Moses begins to live inside it. He is not perfect. He has moments of frustration, moments of weariness, moments where the burden of leading people becomes painfully heavy. But through all of it, his life keeps testifying to one unchanging truth. The work belongs to God more than it belongs to the servant. That is the truth heaven is pressing into you right now. The work of preserving your destiny is not yours alone. The work of opening what no one can shut is not yours alone. The work of defending you against what you cannot see is not yours alone. You have been carrying your assignment as though your hands were the foundation. But God is reminding you that your role is obedience, not omnipotence. Your role is trust, not total control. Your role is surrender, not self-salvation. So when your mind starts racing again, remember Moses at the edge of the sea. Remember the trembling of the people, the noise of fear, the impossible view. And then remember that God's answer was not desperation. It was presence. It was order. It was divine intervention. And as this journey continues, you will see more clearly that the same God who met Moses in weakness, uncertainty, and overwhelming pressure is meeting you in this very hour, not to shame your exhaustion, but to show you that surrender is where the path begins to open. Moses learns this lesson even more deeply after the sea is opened, because the miracle itself is not the end of surrender. In many ways, it is only the beginning. You might think that once the impossible has broken open, once the pressure has lifted, once the danger has fallen behind, you would never struggle again to trust God fully. But that is not how the human heart works. Even after rescue, there are still deserts. Even after breakthrough, there are still days when the road feels dry, uncertain, and longer than expected. That is where surrender becomes more than a desperate prayer in crisis. It becomes a way of walking, and that is where this message reaches into your own life with unusual precision. Because some of your heaviest moments are not happening in the middle of obvious catastrophe. They are happening in the aftermath, in the slow spaces, in the places where you expected things to become easier but instead found yourself asking new questions. You prayed for release, and God answered. You prayed for direction, and God moved. Yet now you are standing in terrain that still requires dependence. And part of you is surprised by that. You thought once the sea parted, the burden would disappear. But what if the deeper work of God is not only to bring you out of bondage, but to train you not to return to the old reflex of carrying everything yourself? Moses has to learn that in the wilderness. The people look to him constantly. Their needs are endless. Their emotions rise and fall. Their trust wavers. Their gratitude fades quickly. One day they are rejoicing, and the next they are murmuring. One day they are singing about deliverance, and the next they are afraid they will not have enough. The pressure on Moses is not light. He is trying to lead people who do not yet know how to live free. He is standing in a role that would crush any person who believed the outcome depended entirely on personal wisdom. And yet, again and again, Moses is driven back to the same reality. He cannot sustain this calling by force of personality. He cannot manufacture peace for everyone. He cannot become the source of what only God can provide. That is the breaking point, becoming permission. Not permission to abandon the journey, but permission to stop pretending you are the source. You were never meant to be the well. You were never meant to be the answer for every person, the fixer of every problem, the guardian of every outcome. Some of your weariness has come from compassion, yes, but some of it has also come from an unspoken belief that if you do not hold everything together, it will all fall apart. Moses knows that tension. He feels the pull of responsibility so intensely that there are moments when the assignment itself seems unbearable. Yet those moments do not mean he has failed. They expose the truth that only God can carry what God has called forth. This is where your exhaustion starts to speak a different language. It is no longer merely pain. It becomes revelation. It shows you where your trust still needs to deepen. It shows you the places where effort has become control, where care has become over-responsibility, where dedication has quietly turned into pressure you were never designed to live under. God does not reveal this to humiliate you. He reveals it to free you. The Lord is not asking you to become indifferent. He is asking you to become surrendered. So you begin to see Moses differently. Not just as a strong leader, not just as the man with the staff, not just as the one who stands before Pharaoh or raises his hand over the sea. You begin to see him as someone constantly brought to the end of himself so that the faithfulness of God can become unmistakable. That pattern matters because it tells you something tender and powerful at once. Your breaking point is not proof that heaven has stepped back. It may be the very place where heaven is making room for a deeper takeover. And perhaps this is also where this message gently asks something of you. If these words are meeting you in a real place, let your response be simple and sincere. You can like this message so it reaches another weary heart. Share it with someone who has been carrying too much in silence. And subscribe if you want to keep walking in these moments of strength and stillness together. And if you feel led to help support this work, there is a way to give through the description. Not as pressure, never as obligation, but as a quiet act of partnership in sending hope where it is needed. Because hope is needed. There are people standing in invisible wildernesses right now. People who look composed on the outside while inwardly they are one breath away from collapse. There are people trying to lead, trying to provide, trying to stay faithful, trying to believe, and all the while wondering when God will step in with unmistakable clarity. That is why surrender matters so much. It is not passive, It is not weak. It is the turning of the soul toward the only true source of sustaining power. Moses keeps walking, and you will too. But from this point forward, the lesson grows sharper. God is not asking you to prove devotion by breaking yourself under the weight. He is teaching you how to move under grace, how to endure without hardening, how to obey without carrying what belongs to heaven. And as the path unfolds, you will see more clearly that the hand of God often becomes most visible when your own hand finally opens. And in that opening, something sacred begins to shift inside you. The urgency starts to quiet down. The fear loses its grip, and the need to control every outcome slowly dissolves into a deeper awareness that you are being led, not left behind. You begin to notice that what once felt heavy now feels held, and what once felt uncertain now carries a quiet assurance. This is not because everything around you has changed, but because something within you has aligned. You are no longer striving to be the source. You are learning, moment by moment, to trust the one who always has been. And that is why the next lesson does not arrive in comfort. It arrives in tension. It arrives in a place where the soul wants to rush, explain, defend, and regain control. Moses knows this place too well. After the sea, after the songs, after the first surge of relief, the deeper struggle begins to reveal itself. The people are physically moving forward, but inwardly they are still learning how to trust. Freedom has opened around them, yet fear still speaks inside them. They still panic when they cannot see the next provision. They still complain when the path grows hard. They still measure God's faithfulness by immediate evidence. And Moses stands in the middle of all of it, carrying the weight of a people who are free in body but still unsettled in heart. You know what that feels like in your own way. You may have left behind one chapter, one burden, one painful season, yet you still find traces of the old struggle inside you. You still feel the reflex to overthink. You still feel the urge to solve everything before it unfolds. You still catch yourself trying to predict outcomes so you can protect your peace before anything threatens it. This is why surrender is not a single moment. It is a retraining of the soul. It is the slow and holy unlearning of panic. Moses has to live that unlearning day by day. The wilderness is not just a location, it is a classroom. There, every unmet expectation becomes an invitation to deeper dependence. When there is no water, the people fear they will die. When there is no food, they imagine they have been abandoned. When the path stretches longer than they wanted, their trust begins to shake. And Moses, though chosen, is not untouched by the pressure. He feels the cries of the people. He feels the burden of leadership. He feels the loneliness of carrying a divine assignment among those who do not always understand what God is doing. But this is where the message becomes sharper for you. The breaking point you fear may actually be the place where false strength begins to leave you. The version of you that thinks everything must be managed, anticipated, and held together by personal effort cannot survive the wilderness for long. It grows tired, it grows brittle, it runs out of breath, and perhaps that is mercy. Because when self-made strength begins to fail, a truer strength has room to rise. Moses learns that he cannot produce manna. He cannot draw water from stone by his own authority. He cannot generate cloud by day or fire by night. He cannot personally keep every fearful heart steady. He cannot manufacture God's presence. The more impossible the need becomes, the clearer the truth becomes. God never intended Moses to replace him. God intended Moses to depend on him. That is the lesson pressing into you right now. You are not failing because you have reached the end of yourself. You are being shown where you end and where God begins in ways you may never have accepted if life had remained easy. It is humbling to realize that some things will not move because you push harder. It is sobering to admit that some answers do not come through more effort. But it is also freeing. Because the moment you stop worshiping your own ability to manage everything, you become available for the peace that comes from divine order. Notice how often fear tries to pull you back into old patterns. It tells you that if you stop striving, everything will fall apart. It tells you that stillness is dangerous. It tells you that trust is too risky. But in truth, much of your exhaustion has come from living as though constant inner motion could protect you. It cannot. Anxiety can exhaust you, but it cannot guide you. Control can occupy your mind, but it cannot heal your spirit. Overthinking can make you feel busy, but it cannot create the future God has already written. This is why heaven keeps calling you back to stillness. Not empty stillness, but surrendered stillness. Not the stillness of giving up, but the stillness of knowing you are not alone in what you face. Moses has to return there again and again. He returns not because he has mastered every emotion, but because he has nowhere else to go. The wilderness strips away illusion. It reveals that human limitation is real, and that divine faithfulness is more real still. So when your mind races ahead, when your heart tightens with the need to make something happen, remember this part of the journey. Remember that God can sustain what He has called, even when the path looks barren. Remember that your need does not intimidate heaven. Remember that your uncertainty does not cancel His plan. The same God who gave manna where there were no fields and water where there was no river is still able to provide in places that seem empty to you. Your task is not to become the source. Your task is to remain yielded. And before this message moves forward, there is one practical note for those who have been looking for support in areas like mental fog, stress, focus, and the feeling of being mentally drained by constant pressure. Some people are exploring an audio product called the Genius Wave or Genius Song, described as a short daily brainwave audio designed to support focus, clarity, creativity, relaxation, and calmer thinking in just a few minutes a day. If that is something you want to look into, the official information may be in the description or pinned comment. Please be careful with fake versions and only use the official source if you decide to try it. And now, with that said, bring your heart back here, because the deeper answer has never been found in striving, but in the quiet power of surrender before God. And now the message returns fully to the place where your spirit has been waiting, because beyond every outer pressure there is an invisible battle that you do not always see. Moses begins to understand that more clearly as the journey continues. What surrounds him is not only a difficult people, a harsh landscape, or the daily demands of leadership. There is something deeper unfolding. Every complaint, every fear, every moment of temptation to turn back carries a spiritual edge. The wilderness is not only testing endurance, it is exposing where trust is weak, where memory is short, and where the heart still struggles to believe that God is enough when the visible evidence has not yet appeared. You know this battle too. There are moments when the true fight is not the situation itself, but the voice inside you that tells you God has forgotten you. The true fight is not only the delay, but the interpretation of the delay. The true fight is not only the burden, but the whisper that says you are abandoned in it. This is why surrender is never just emotional relief. It is spiritual alignment. It is the refusal to let fear narrate your future. It is the decision to believe that heaven is working, even when your senses cannot yet confirm it. Moses walks with that lesson through scene after scene. He sees how quickly people can forget what God has already done. He sees how easily panic rises when comfort is interrupted. He sees how fragile human confidence becomes when needs are exposed. But he also sees something else. He sees that God's care is often moving before anyone recognizes it. Long before the people understand what is happening, they are being guided by cloud and fire. Long before they know where tomorrow's provision will come from, heaven has already accounted for it. Long before they learn how much danger has been diverted, God is standing between them and what would have crushed them. This is the hidden tenderness of divine protection. So much of what God does in your life is unseen. You notice the doors that opened and the blessings that arrived. But you do not always notice the disasters that never reached you, the wrong attachments that never fully formed, the traps that closed before you stepped into them, the words spoken against you that lost their power before they could settle over your life. You do not always see the quiet warfare of heaven, but that does not mean it is absent. It means you are more covered than you realize. Moses learns this not by theory, but by walking through impossible ground and discovering that impossible ground is still under God's authority. Even when the people are unsteady, God's presence remains steady. Even when their emotions are loud, His direction is clear. Even when they do not know how to move, He knows exactly where they are being led. That matters for you now, because your peace cannot depend only on what you understand. If peace only survives in clarity, then confusion will always steal it. But if peace is rooted in God's character, then even the unknown can become bearable. There is a verse that settles into this moment with great force and quiet comfort. The eternal God is your refuge, and underneath are the everlasting arms. Deuteronomy chapter 33, verse 27. That is not poetic language alone. It is a picture of reality. Underneath what feels unstable to you, there are everlasting arms. Beneath the places where your footing seems uncertain, there is still support. Beneath your questions, beneath your fatigue, beneath your inability to see the whole plan, God remains. And that means you are not suspended over emptiness. You are upheld in ways that your natural mind cannot always measure. Moses needs that truth because visible responsibility can easily make a person forget invisible support. The assignment in front of him is enormous. The noise around him is constant. The needs are unending. Yet below all of it, surrounding all of it, sustaining all of it is the God who called him. The more you see this in Moses, the more you can let it heal something in you. You are not the deepest support beneath your own life. God is, you are not the final defense around your destiny. God is, you are not the secret power keeping everything from collapse. God is, and once that truth begins to settle, something changes in the way you face hardship. You stop reading every challenge as proof of divine distance. You stop assuming that struggle means God has withdrawn. Moses still faces resistance. He still faces disappointment. He still walks through seasons that stretch him beyond what feels comfortable or manageable. But his life keeps declaring the same witness. The presence of God does not vanish in the hard places. It becomes more necessary there, more precious there, and often more visible there to the heart that has learned to depend on it. So when the unseen battle rises in your own life, do not judge heaven by what fear says in the night. Do not measure God's nearness only by the speed of the answer. Do not assume that because you cannot trace every movement, nothing is happening. There are battles being addressed beyond your awareness. There are protections already in motion. There are mercies positioned around you before the next need even arrives. The God who covered Moses in the wilderness has not changed. And as this journey continues, you are being taught to live with that confidence. Not a shallow confidence built on mood, but a deeper confidence built on refuge. the kind of confidence that can breathe before the sea, walk through the wilderness, and endure the silence without surrendering to despair. Because even now, while you are still learning to let go, heaven is not learning how to hold you. It already does. And that quiet assurance is not imaginary. It is the beginning of a stronger way of living, one that does not depend on perfect circumstances to remain steady. You begin to sense that even in the places where you cannot explain what God is doing, you are still being preserved by what He has already decided. The unseen hand that guided Moses through fear, resistance, and uncertainty is the same hand guiding you now. It is beneath your unanswered questions. It is behind doors that have not opened yet. It is around the parts of your life that still feel fragile. So let your heart rest a little deeper. Let your mind stop reaching for control every second. Let your soul remember that divine protection is not delayed just because it is invisible. What God covers, no darkness can claim. What God carries, no pressure can destroy. And what God has chosen to keep, He will not abandon halfway through the journey. And this is where the lesson becomes even more practical. Because surrender is not only about what happens inside your heart when you are tired. It is also about what happens in the real battles that still come even after God has already proven Himself faithful. Moses discovers that the journey with God does not move in a straight line from miracle to ease. There are still confrontations. There are still moments of strain. There are still hours when the burden feels immediate and heavy again. But by now, something has changed in him. He has begun to learn that victory does not rise from frantic human force. Victory comes when heaven is given room to lead. You see that clearly when Moses stands during the battle against Amalek. The conflict is real. The threat is not imagined. This is not a quiet wilderness need like thirst or hunger. This is direct opposition. And yet even here, the deeper message remains the same. Moses does not run into the fight as though his own effort alone will secure the future. He goes to the hilltop with the staff of God in his hand, and there, in a scene full of meaning, you are shown that the visible battle below is tied to the posture above. When his hands are lifted, Israel prevails. When his hands fall, the enemy gains ground. The story is not merely about physical fatigue. It is about dependence. It is about the truth that the outcome is bound to the presence and power of God, not to human intensity by itself. That matters for you now, because many of your battles are wearing you out not only because they are difficult, but because you keep trying to win them from the wrong posture. You are trying to solve spiritual strain with mental overexertion. You are trying to secure peace through constant analysis. You are trying to overcome deep fear by tightening your grip on every detail. But the lesson of Moses on the hill is simple and piercing. The battle shifts when your posture shifts. When you stop living as though everything depends on your independent strength, you create space for divine strength to move in ways you cannot manufacture. This does not mean there is no effort required. Joshua still fights in the valley. Moses still stands on the hill. But the meaning of the effort changes. It is no longer restless self-reliance. It becomes cooperation with God. That is what heaven has been drawing you toward from the beginning of this message. Not passivity, not avoidance, not detachment. Surrender. The kind that knows your role and God's role are not the same thing. The kind that works without worshiping work. The kind that obeys without pretending obedience can replace dependence. And there is another quiet mercy hidden in this moment. Moses cannot keep his hands raised alone forever. His strength begins to fail. Aaron and Hur come near. They place a stone beneath him. They stand beside him. They hold up his hands until sunset. there is deep wisdom there for you. Sometimes letting God take over also means admitting that you were never meant to bear every strain in isolation. Even chosen people need support. Even faithful people grow tired. Even those called by God can reach moments where they need others to steady them while they remain in position. This can humble you, especially if you are used to being the strong one, the dependable one, the one others lean on. But humility is not your enemy. It is one of the doors through which grace enters most powerfully. Moses does not lose authority because others support him. He is sustained through it. In the same way, your surrender may include accepting help, receiving encouragement, and allowing God to strengthen you through channels you once ignored because pride told you that needing support was weakness. It is not weakness, it is alignment. So when you feel your inner hands beginning to drop, do not rush back into panic. Do not interpret weariness as failure. Pause and remember what this moment teaches. God does not only move when you feel strong. He moves when you remain yielded. He moves when your limitations are visible. He moves when you stop performing invincibility and return to honest dependence. Sometimes the holiest thing you can do is stop pretending you are endless and let God's order reach you through prayer, rest, wisdom, and faithful support. And if this message is strengthening you in a real way, let your response be gentle and sincere. You can like it so more people who are quietly fighting their own battles have a chance to hear it. You can share it with someone whose hands have been growing tired in silence. You can subscribe if you want to keep walking through these moments of truth and restoration together. And if your heart is moved to support this work, there is a way to give through the description, not as pressure, but as partnership in carrying light to those who need it. Then come back to the hill with Moses one more time. Stay there long enough to see the deeper meaning. Victory was never born from noise alone. It was not built by fear. It was not secured by control. It came through alignment with God and the humility to remain in that posture until the day was done. That is your invitation now. Step back from the exhausting illusion that everything must be sustained by your own force. Lift your heart again. Let heaven hold what you cannot. And as this path continues, you will see that when you stop trying to be the source of power, you become far more available to the power that has been waiting to carry you all along. And as you remain in that place, you begin to notice a quiet transformation taking root within you. The battle may still exist, but it no longer defines your identity. The pressure may still press near, but it no longer commands your soul. Like Moses on the hill, you are learning that endurance is not the same as strain, and surrender is not the same as defeat. There is a steadier strength rising in you now, one that comes from staying connected to God's presence instead of being consumed by the fear of outcomes. You are discovering that heaven does not require you to be unbreakable in your own power. It asks you to remain available, honest, and yielded. That is where grace settles. That is where courage becomes clean again. And in that posture, even long battles lose some of their terror because you know the result is not resting on your hands alone, but on the faithfulness of the God who never fails. And now the path leads you into one of the hardest truths of surrender. Because there comes a moment when holding on too tightly does not protect the promise. It delays your peace inside it. Moses comes to know this in painful and revealing ways. By now he has seen the sea divide, manna fall, water come forth, enemies pushed back, and the presence of God guide a people who often do not understand what has been done for them. He has watched heaven move with power that no human hand could imitate. Yet even after all of this, the pressure of leadership keeps pressing against the places in him that are still tender, still strained, still human. That matters because surrender is not tested only when you are weak. Sometimes it is tested after you have already been faithful for a long time. Sometimes the real danger is not open rebellion against God, but a slow inner hardening formed by fatigue, frustration, and the burden of carrying more than you should. Moses knows what it is to stand between God's instruction and the people's constant unrest. He knows what it is to hear complaints after miracles. He knows what it is to pour himself out for people who do not always honor the cost of what he carries. And if you are honest, you know some version of that feeling too. You know what it is to keep giving, keep showing up, keep trying to remain faithful, while inwardly asking how much longer your soul can sustain this pace. This is where the cost of holding on too long begins to reveal itself. You can keep moving in obedience on the outside while slowly tightening inwardly. You can still be doing what is right while losing the soft, surrendered posture that once made your obedience light. You can become so accustomed to responsibility that you forget how to rest your spirit in God. Moses reaches a moment like that at the waters of Meribah. The people are thirsty again. Their complaints rise again. Their accusation falls on him again. And the weight of that repetition matters. This is not happening in isolation. It is happening after years of pressure, years of burden, years of being stretched between divine assignment and human resistance. God gives Moses clear instruction. He is told to speak to the rock. But in that heated moment, with all the pressure of accumulated frustration burning close to the surface, Moses strikes the rock instead. Water still comes, provision still appears. But the act exposes something deeper than the immediate result. It reveals what prolonged strain can do when surrender begins to erode. The issue is not simply that Moses is tired. The issue is that fatigue and frustration have begun to leak into the way he handles what belongs to God. This should sober you gently, not shame you, because it shows how easily a weary heart can drift from surrendered obedience into pressured reaction. You may still be trying to serve, still trying to help, still trying to remain committed. But if your spirit is no longer resting in God, your actions can start to carry the flavor of strain rather than trust. This is one reason heaven keeps calling you to release what was never yours to control. Holding on too long changes the texture of the soul. It makes you sharper where you were meant to be calm. It makes you reactive where you were meant to be responsive. It makes you carry sacred assignments with exhausted hands that need replenishment. There is a verse that lands here with both warning and mercy. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 5. That verse is not only about intellectual humility, it is also about emotional surrender. Leaning on your own understanding includes leaning on your own internal pressure, your own accumulated frustration, your own need to handle things by force when the heart is tired. Moses has spent so much time in the tension of leadership that for a moment he moves out of exact alignment. He does not stop being chosen. He does not stop being part of God's story. But he does feel the cost of letting strain occupy ground that surrender was meant to hold. And maybe this is where your own spirit needs to listen more closely than ever. You have been carrying much. You have been trying to stay faithful. You have endured more than many people know. But that does not mean you are meant to keep gripping every burden until frustration shapes the way you live. God is not only interested in getting you through the task, He cares about the condition of your heart while you walk it out. He does not want your calling fulfilled at the expense of your inner tenderness toward Him. He does not want your service to become a cage of silent pressure. So the invitation becomes clearer now. Release before resentment forms. Yield before pressure hardens you. Let God take over before your soul begins to confuse relentless control with spiritual maturity. There is no glory in carrying what God never assigned you to hold alone. There is no wisdom in clenching your spirit until peace disappears. Moses teaches you this not only through his victories, but through the moments where his humanity shows under strain. And even there, the lesson is holy. God is still faithful. God is still just. God is still near. But the story reminds you that surrender is not optional decoration for the spiritual life. It is protection. So breathe again here. Let this part of the journey search you. Ask yourself where fatigue has been speaking louder than trust. Ask where frustration has been slowly replacing stillness. Ask where you have been striking at what God told you to simply address in faith. These are not questions of condemnation. They are questions of mercy, because heaven would rather heal you now than let pressure continue shaping you in secret. And as the path keeps unfolding, you begin to see that true strength is not found in how long you can grip the burden alone. True strength is found in how fully you let God remain God in the middle of it. That is the wisdom Moses keeps handing you through both his obedience and his weariness. And if you receive it well, you will not only keep moving forward, you will move forward lighter, cleaner, and more deeply aligned than before. By now, you can feel the pattern with greater clarity. Every place where Moses tries to carry too much, heaven answers with a reminder that the journey does not move forward by human strain alone. And after the weariness, after the frustration, after the painful lesson of what happens when pressure sits too long in the soul, another truth begins to rise. Restoration does not start in noise. It starts in stillness. It starts when the heart stops defending its burden and finally lets God reorder what has been stretched out of shape. Moses knows what it is to stand in the aftermath of failure and still remain before God. That is one of the most beautiful things about his story. He is not presented as a flawless symbol of strength. He is shown as a man who walks closely with God and yet still feels the cost of human limitation. He knows how to obey, and he knows how to break under strain. He knows how to intercede, and he knows what it is to feel overwhelmed. Yet through every rise and fall, one thing remains constant. He keeps returning to the presence of God. That return is where restoration begins. You need that truth because sometimes you imagine restoration as an instant reversal of everything painful. You imagine that once God begins to heal, every heavy feeling will disappear at once. Every unclear path will suddenly become obvious. Every wounded part of your spirit will stand up whole in a single day. But often God's restoration works more quietly. It begins by calming the interior storm. It begins by drawing you away from frantic self-management and back into communion. It begins by teaching your soul how to breathe again in His presence. This is what makes stillness so sacred. Stillness is not emptiness. It is not inactivity. It is not retreat from purpose. It is the place where false urgency loses power. It is the place where your mind no longer rules your spirit through fear. It is the place where God gently rebuilds the parts of you that pressure has worn thin. Moses learns this every time he goes before the Lord. On the mountain, in the tent of meeting, in those moments where the noise of the people falls behind and the reality of God fills the foreground, he is being restored. Not because the responsibilities vanish, but because the presence of God recenters him. That is what your heart needs now more than another burst of striving. You do not need louder pressure. You need holy recentering. You need the kind of stillness that lets truth sink below your thoughts and into your deepest place. You need the kind of nearness that reminds you that God's plan for your life is not hanging by the thread of your perfect performance. You need the kind of quiet where fear can no longer pretend it is wisdom. Listen to this verse and let it become a resting place for your soul. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm chapter 46, verse 10. That is not merely a command to stop moving physically. It is an invitation to stop enthroning panic. It is a call to release inner chaos long enough to recognize who is truly in control. Moses has to live inside that revelation. Again and again he finds that the answers do not emerge from louder effort. They emerge from nearness to God. Wisdom comes there, clarity comes there, strength comes there, even correction comes there. But it comes in a way that restores order instead of deepening confusion. And perhaps that is why some of your recent seasons have felt so interrupted. Perhaps God has not been punishing your momentum. Perhaps He has been protecting your soul from continuing at a pace that would have emptied you in the wrong way. Moses could not lead merely by reacting to every voice around him. He had to return to the voice above him. In the same way, you cannot build your future by answering every fear, every pressure, every expectation that rises around you. You have to come back to the place where God speaks more clearly than the crowd inside your mind. This is not easy at first. Stillness can feel unfamiliar when you have lived in survival mode. Silence can feel uncomfortable when you have trained yourself to stay mentally busy all the time. The absence of constant effort can almost feel dangerous when your nervous system has learned to equate motion with safety. But that is why stillness must become practice, not accident. It becomes the place where you let God untangle what haste has twisted. It becomes the place where your identity is separated from your exhaustion. It becomes the place where peace is not earned but received. Moses shows you that intimacy with God is not a luxury for the spiritually gifted. It is survival for the chosen. Without it, the burden becomes distorted. Without it, leadership becomes mere pressure. Without it, obedience turns brittle. But with it, even difficult assignments can be carried differently. Not lightly in the sense of easy, but lightly in the sense of rightly ordered. When God is central, the weight no longer sits in the same crushing place on your soul. So let this be the moment where you stop arguing with the invitation to be still. Let this be the moment where you stop treating rest as if it were weakness. God is not asking you to disappear from your calling. He is asking you to return to the only place where your calling can remain healthy. He is asking you to let Him restore your inner world so your outer life is no longer fueled by fear. And if this reaches your heart, comment, "I trust God." Because the path ahead is not built through strain alone. It is built through surrender that grows deeper, quieter, and more rooted in the character of God. Moses is still walking, still leading, still listening. But by now, the deeper lesson is unmistakable. The strength to continue does not come from forcing yourself beyond your limits. It comes from being restored in the presence of the one who called you. And that same restoration is opening before you now. Not as a distant hope, but as a living invitation to step out of turmoil and into holy stillness. And now you arrive at the part of the journey where surrender stops feeling like loss and begins to reveal itself as inheritance. This is where Moses stands with a deeper kind of vision. Not because every earthly desire has been fulfilled in the way he once imagined, but because he has been shaped by years of walking with God until the inner meaning of the journey becomes clearer than the outer strain. By this point, Moses is no longer the hesitant man at the burning bush, shrinking back from the call because he feels unqualified. He is no longer only the trembling leader at the edge of the sea. wondering how deliverance will unfold. He is no longer only the exhausted servant learning, through pain and pressure, that he cannot carry the whole nation by his own strength. He has become a living witness to what God can build in a surrendered life. That is what heaven wants you to see now. The purpose of surrender was never merely to help you survive one difficult season. It was always preparing you to become someone different, someone steadier, someone less ruled by fear, someone less seduced by control, someone whose life begins to reflect the order of God more than the noise of circumstances. Moses reaches the later stretch of his story with that kind of transformation written into him. He has known glory and grief. He has known intimacy with God and heartbreak among the people. He has known the weight of responsibility and the discipline of divine correction. And through it all, one truth keeps shining brighter. God remains faithful, and the surrendered heart becomes capable of seeing farther than the anxious heart ever could. There is something holy about how Moses ends his course. He does not end as a man frantically trying to seize what God has not given. He does not end clawing for control over an outcome that belongs to heaven. He does not end by making himself the center of the story. He ends in vision. He ends in blessing. He ends in alignment. He is allowed to see the land from a height, and though the story carries a tenderness of longing in that moment, it also carries dignity. Moses is not discarded. He is not diminished. He is honored as one who has walked closely with God, one whose life has become larger than a single personal outcome. That matters deeply for you, because one of the greatest fears of the striving heart is the fear of missing out, the fear of releasing control and somehow losing the best. But Moses shows you that surrender does not reduce your life, it refines it. It lifts your gaze from the frantic need to possess every detail and teaches you to value the nearness of God above the illusion of personal control. The anxious heart wants guarantees. The surrendered heart learns to prize presence. The anxious heart tries to force timing. The surrendered heart begins to trust that what God reveals, withholds, grants, or delays is still held inside wisdom greater than human urgency. This is why the final shape of Moses' story carries such spiritual weight. He has spent years learning that obedience matters, that trust matters, that pressure can distort the soul when it is not yielded, and that God's presence is the only true center from which leadership, peace, and endurance can flow. By the end, he is no longer merely leading people toward a destination. He himself has become a message. His life declares that closeness with God is not a side blessing. It is the treasure within the entire journey. Hear this verse here, because it settles like a seal over everything that has been unfolding. My presence will go with you, and I will give you rest. Exodus chapter 33, verse 14. That promise was spoken into the life of Moses, but it continues to echo into your life now. Notice the order. Presence first, then rest. Not control first, then peace. Not certainty first, then rest. Presence first. That means the rest your soul has been craving is not found in finally managing every variable. It is found in walking with God so closely that even the unresolved places of life no longer have the same power to torment you. Moses learns this so deeply that the greatest evidence of his life is not just the miracles around him, but the communion within him. And perhaps that is what heaven has been aiming at all along in your own life. Yes, God cares about the doors, the provision, the healing, the timing, the outcome. But beneath all of that, he is drawing you into something more enduring than temporary relief. He is drawing you into a life where his presence becomes your resting place. A life where obedience no longer feels like punishment. A life where stillness is not frightening. A life where you stop measuring divine love by how much control you have and start recognizing divine love by how faithfully He remains with you through every season. Moses teaches you that this kind of life is possible, but only through surrender. Not one time, but again and again. At the bush, at the sea, in the wilderness, on the hill, after failure, in stillness, and at the end, the lesson keeps returning because the human heart keeps trying to return to self-reliance, yet grace keeps calling you back. God keeps saying, let me take over, let me lead, let me sustain, let me fight, let me restore, let me be God in the places where you have become tired of pretending to be enough. So now, standing at this edge with Moses still in view, you can feel the message settling into something stronger than inspiration. It becomes conviction. The future does not need more of your fearful control. It needs more of your surrendered trust. The weight does not need tighter hands. It needs a yielded heart. And the rest you have been longing for is not found at the end of perfect circumstances. It begins wherever the presence of God is welcomed without resistance. That is how surrender crowns the journey. Not by erasing every hardship, but by making you someone who knows at last, who is carrying you all along. And now you stand at the final stretch of this message with the truth resting more deeply in you than it did when these words first began. What started as a call to stop striving has become something fuller, something steadier, something that now reaches into the center of your life with quiet authority. You have seen through Moses that surrender is not retreat. It is alignment. It is not the loss of dignity. It is the restoration of order. It is not the death of hope. It is the place where hope stops depending on human force and begins resting in the presence of God. This is how the journey crowns you. Not with the hard shell of someone who survived by controlling everything, but with the inner strength of someone who finally knows who the true keeper has always been. You are no longer being invited to one more burst of effort. You are being invited into a different way of living, a way where you do not wake each day trying to become your own protector, provider, strategist, and savior all at once. A way where you still obey, still show up, still remain faithful, but no longer from panic. You move from peace. You choose from trust. You endure from communion. This is what God has been building in you through every delay, every ache, every wilderness hour, every place where your strength ran thin and your heart had to learn that heaven was still near. And now, before this message closes, let your spirit become still enough to pray. Not a hurried prayer made from fear, but a surrendered prayer made from trust. Father, in this moment I release what I have been trying to carry by myself. I give you the weight, the worry, the future, the unanswered questions, the timing, the pain, and the pressure. I confess that I have often tried to hold together what only your hand can sustain. I have strained where I should have trusted. I have hurried where I should have listened. I have feared where I should have remembered your faithfulness. But here and now, I open my heart again. Take over the places where I have been exhausted. Rule over the places where I have been anxious. Heal the places where pressure has hardened me. Restore the tenderness of my spirit. Teach me to walk in surrender without fear. Teach me to rest without guilt. Teach me to obey without striving. Let your presence go before me, remain with me, and settle over every part of my life. Fight the battles I cannot fight. Close the doors that do not carry your peace. Open only what belongs to your will. And let my life become a testimony that you are faithful from beginning to end. In Jesus' name, Amen. Stay there for a moment in the quiet that follows Punamasai, because this is where many people rush away too quickly. They hear the truth, they feel the stirring, and then they return immediately to the old rhythm of worry. But you do not have to return to that old rhythm. You can let this moment mark you. You can let this surrender become real in the way you think, the way you respond, the way you carry responsibility, and the way you enter tomorrow. Let God take over not only in language, but in practice. When fear rises, remember what He has already shown you. When pressure returns, remember that your role is not to replace God. When uncertainty comes, remember that presence is greater than perfect explanation. This is also the moment to stay connected to what strengthens your spirit. If this message has spoken to you, you can like it so it reaches more hearts that are tired of carrying too much alone. You can share it with someone who needs this reminder that surrender is not weakness. You can subscribe if you want to keep walking in messages like this, where faith, peace, and spiritual strength continue to grow together. And if you feel led to support this work, there is a way to give through the description, never from pressure, always from willing partnership, so that hope can continue reaching people who are hungry for light. But even that is not the deepest takeaway. The deepest takeaway is this: you are not abandoned. You are not forgotten. You are not standing alone before a future that depends entirely on your own fragile strength. The God who met Moses in uncertainty, carried him through pressure, corrected him in love, restored him in presence, and gave him rest, is the same God holding you now. The same God still speaks over weary souls and says, "You have done enough. Now let me take over." So walk forward from here differently. Walk lighter. Walk slower where you need to. Walk with more listening than striving. Walk with more prayer than panic. Walk with more peace than pressure. Let your heart become a dwelling place for trust. Let your mind release its endless grip. Let your soul remember that surrender is not the end of your story. It is where the truest part of your story finally begins. And as you keep going, long after these words end, may you find yourself returning again and again to the holy simplicity that changes everything. God is with you. God is leading you. God is carrying what you no longer need to carry alone. So now the message grows quiet, and you are left with what matters most. Breathe slowly. Let your shoulders soften. Let your thoughts settle. You do not need to solve your whole life tonight. You do not need to force tomorrow open. You do not need to carry every burden back onto your own shoulders after laying it down before God. Stay in this peace a little longer. Let it reach the places in you that have been tense for too long. Remember what has been shown to you. Surrender is not loss. Stillness is not failure. Dependence on God is not weakness. It is wisdom. It is safety. It is the path where your spirit can live uncrushed. Take this with you into the next hour, the next morning, the next decision, the next hard conversation, the next uncertain season. Let this truth remain close. The hand of God is not far from you. His presence is not fragile. His faithfulness is not temporary. And you are not walking into the future alone. Rest now in that certainty, and let peace become stronger than pressure.